Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. This is my weekly compendium of case reports between the 30th of June to the 5th of July, 2021. Case files number 172 to 177. Case file number 172, written by Q Biohazard. A night out of phase. Hi people, I'm here to tell you about an unexplained phenomenon which happened recently. First things first, maybe you will not take this seriously or not believe me, and I understand that. But all I want is an answer, a true answer. I'm that kind of person that doesn't believe in ghosts, magic, or other stuff. I always had a rational and scientific view on reality. But that night, my God, something happened. Let's start. The day is 29th of May, 2021, Italy. It started as a usual weekend. I was at a friend's home with other friends drinking something, chatting and playing games. When it's summer, sometimes we decided to go outside for a walk. It was night around 11:30 p.m., cloudy, but you could still easily see where you were going. We live in a countryside place, but not too much away from the nearest city. It's a typical Tuscany landscape. Anyway, we take the usual dirt road that is in front of the house. As we walk down this road, a friend, let's call them M, goes a bit further than us, and another friend that was with him came back to us, saying that he lost him in a matter of seconds. Now from this point on, things got creepy. We started searching with torches. Maybe he fell on the sides. We call it out, but we hear nothing. Arrived at the end of the road and still nothing there. He vanished. The road is around 200 meters straight, plain and with a dead end. How can someone disappear if you have them right in front of you? Fine, maybe he somehow went back home, we thought. So half the group backtracked back home to check, while me and another two friends remained at the dead end. Later we get messages that he is not at home, so we too started coming back, and when we nearly arrived, M reappears from the road running towards us. At first he thought that we made up some kind of bad joke on him, but no. He then explained what happened from his point of view. As we all saw, M was just walking by themselves a bit further ahead of us. When he reached the dead end, he realized that we weren't there behind him anymore. No torchlights, no voices, nothing. From his point of view, we were the ones that vanished. So he too backtracked to home, but there was no one there. So then he came back to the dead end, doing the same road from start to end, 3 freaking times, and nothing, we weren't there at all. We live in this place. We would know where we are with our eyes closed. There are no roads similar to that nearby, and it's literally impossible to miss each other on the straight plain road, so how did all this happen? We thought about it all night, searching for some kind of explanation for what we witnessed. But how can you explain this? That night still haunts me for days. I don't post much on the internet, but now I just need an answer. So if you have some ideas, question, or maybe had experiences similar to this one, I'm always available. Case notes, file number 172. There's this show called The Leftovers, an extremely underrated show. It's about humans living in a world after the event, where 2% of the world's population vanishes, instantly and simultaneously. Somehow your story made me think of that show. I won't give any details, I don't want to spoil it. Definitely recommend you watch it. I think your friend went out of phase momentarily. From his perspective though, time was normal. Everything still existed. Although he saw no one else, I'm recalling of another story where a young boy woke up one morning and everyone was gone, not a soul around. Then 3 hours later, after having gone through panic and then anxiety and then sadness, everyone was back. Everything was normal, completely suddenly, inexplicable to the cause. But in all these stories, everything is connected even loosely. There's something more to this that we don't know yet. Case file number 173, written by Necron 2.0, A Blue Light Mystery. For some background, well into my teens, I had a lot of anxiety related to sleep and windows, because as a child, up to the age of 4 or 5, my alcoholic neighbor would come home drunk and peer in through my bedroom window. Because of that, I could only sleep in rooms without windows, or which at least had blackout curtains. Likely because of this, I had a night light in my room until I was around 6 or 7 years old. At some point, my mom replaced my old nightlight with one that did not have a conventional bulb. Instead, the whole thing just glowed, casting a bluish light. I hated the thing, to the point that I would rather sleep in complete darkness rather than have it plugged in. The blue light cast eerie shadows across the room. I took to hiding it, so my mom could not find it. On this one night, my mom had dressed herself for bed and put me to bed too just before heading off herself. This was our routine. My mom had just left, shutting off the lights as she went, and I had just rolled over. Because of my anxiety, it always took me a little while to get settled in and comfortable with my surroundings before I could actually fall asleep. Again, I just rolled over and was in the process of getting comfortable when I noticed my headboard was illuminated in blue light. At that point, I was annoyed. Stress that. Annoyed, not fearful or anxious. I rolled back over, prepared to jump out of bed and rip the nightlight out of the wall. I assumed my mom had somehow found it and plugged it in when I was not looking. But here's the thing. The glow was not from the nightlight. When I looked to where it should have been, it wasn't there. Instead, there was a ball of blue light bobbing up and down in the center of my room. It looked like a miniature blue sun, complete with a corona, but dim, maybe as bright as a cell phone screen. It was roughly the size of a softball. Now, up to the moment I saw the ball of light, my memories are crystal clear. My mom had just left the room. I had just rolled over and noticed the glow on my headboard, all within a minute, if that. I remember having one foot out of bed, getting ready to hit the floor. However, from the moment I saw the light, my memories become jumbled. The next thing I clearly remember was screaming my head off. Except I was in bed, tucked in, face down in my pillow. I had thought my mom would come in immediately. She had to have been right at the door, because she had just closed it. When she finally did come in, she had pillow lines on her face, and she looked barely awake. She said it was a dream, but to this day, I know it wasn't. To be honest, I cannot say what it was. Case notes file number 173. I think many people will simply attribute this to ball lightning. And if one sticks to the world of the fully known, that's where minds stop pursuing other options. For me, I won't discount ball lightning, but I do believe it could be more. There are spirits out there that have manifested themselves as these balls of energy. And that you describe it as having a corona, aura, is interesting. The reason I don't think it's ball lightning is that natural phenomena invokes itself not as a smooth sphere, but as a charged ball with arcing lightning around it. And even the very atmosphere around you would be charged. You would feel it. And then finally, it wouldn't explain your time skip. My guess, it was a spirit trying to make contact, but not understanding how. At least for now, perhaps. Case file number 174, written by Screwpoo Loose. Our neighborhood gives off cryptic vibes. I recently moved into my first home out of college with my boyfriend. It seemed like a great neighborhood and the house was really nice. But then as soon as we started moving in, we got an uneasy feeling. Our neighbors would watch us as we moved in, but not in a normal way, if that makes sense. Like as soon as we started moving stuff, one of our neighbors would come out of their house, plant a chair on the lawn, and watch us. Even now, every time I glance at this particular neighbor's house, I see her peeking through the blinds watching me. She's not the only strange neighbor though. I've had multiple people from the neighborhood come up to me that I had never met, come up and ask me about my boyfriend's jobs. They already knew where he worked before we had any conversations with our neighbors. I had plans with friends for Independence Day, and as I was getting ready to pull out of the driveway, I see my neighbor suddenly standing outside my car window. He asked me, "Are you trying to leave?" I told him, "Yes, I'm going to a 4th of July party." And he said, "Well, we have the road blocked off, so you won't be able to leave." I said, "Well, my boyfriend is going to have to leave because he works tonight." And he said, "Well, I guess we can remove the roadblocks, but just so you know, we have a 4th of July party every year, and the roadblock isn't that big of a deal. And I don't know, this wasn't that weird. But as I was driving away, a kid threw a firecracker at my car. Just a bit odd. One night, about a month after we moved in, my friends and I were hanging out on my deck, having a few beers and talking. Then we heard sirens and saw an ambulance and police officers driving across the neighborhood. We weren't super concerned until they pulled up to one of our other neighbors' houses. The woman who lived there was on her porch, screaming and crying to the officers, sobbing, yelling, "I cut him down! I cut him down!" Then they loaded her husband's body into the ambulance while we watched. We learned later that he had tried to take his own life, and he did pass away. The wife of the man who had died was very strange as well. She would randomly, not extremely often, but enough for it to be a pattern, would wander out of her house late at night around the neighborhood. We learned from our one normal neighbor that her wanderings happened long before the husband had taken his life. Finally, we have odd happenings in our house sometimes, where the lights flicker, our smoke alarms randomly go off, and I've even woken up with scratches up and down my arms. One night, I was laying on the couch and had fallen asleep. I woke to the sound of someone in the kitchen, and in my sleepy state, I assumed it was my boyfriend. But then I called his name and I heard no answer. I called again and asked what he was doing, but then I looked in the kitchen. I saw no one. Then, as soon as I looked, the deck light outside turned on. My boyfriend came out of our room and asked if I had heard someone in the kitchen too. I was creeped out, but I got up and went to the door by the deck to shut off the light. But when I did, I saw a neighbor on her own deck, standing perfectly still, staring at me. I was super spooked because it was late, like 2:30 a.m. at this point, and she was fully outside, posted and staring. She wasn't doing a task, wasn't smoking, nothing. Just standing and staring. I quickly shut off the light and then went around to all the doors to make sure they were locked. But when I got to the front door, it was unlocked and opened 3 inches, which makes no sense because we have a habit of shutting and locking the doors every time we come inside, whether night or day. I locked it and we looked around the house to make sure no one was in there. We slept in our own room with the door locked that night. I don't know what to make of our experiences at this point. Every neighbor mentioned in this post is a different neighbor, and the whole neighborhood just has an off vibe. My friends think, and I hate to think this, that my neighbors are somehow involved in all the strange occurrences in the house, and that they aren't necessarily watching me when they're staring, but rather watching all the entities or vibes or anything like that around the house. I really don't know. I can't help but feel uneasy, but any theories would be welcome to explain what the heck is going on. Has anyone else experienced something similar? Case notes, file number 174. This is very creepy, absolutely. Are the standard spirits or demons involved? I can't say for sure. What tips me to the side of this being almost a sort of cult in your neighborhood, or just a really odd or possibly dangerous group, is you woke up with scratches on your arms. Entities shouldn't be able to physically harm you in that way. Although why would any human do that either? I don't know. Others here have mentioned the people in your community might have been friends with the previous homeowners. They might have a key. I think it's sound advice to change your locks and get some security cameras. If anything, you'll be able to confirm what the issue is and then assess if it's something you can deal with. Everyone should feel safe in their own homes. Case file number 175, written by Insidious Expert. Hey, cool, shades on my head. How the hell did they get there? I was ready to go lay down in my bed after a long day. I had gone out to dinner at 7 with some friends. My friend took a group photo. Then, after getting home, I hopped into my hot tub for 30 minutes because I'm sore from some intensive landscaping work. I got out, dried off, put on dry clothes, and then went to my bed. Right before I laid down, I scratched my head. There were sunglasses on my head. I'm legitimately confused as all hell right now, and it just doesn't feel right. I mentioned the group photo before because I did not have sunglasses on me at the time. It was dark out when I left, so I wouldn't have worn them after. Then I was in the hot tub, touched my head multiple times, had to pull my shirt off to get in, dried off with a towel afterwards, and put on a new shirt. I walked straight from the bathroom after changing, into my bedroom. What the hell? It just doesn't make sense. Case notes, file number 175. There was another commenter here mentioning, it's conceivable that you were just so tired you somehow didn't realize you put your shades on your head after getting out of the hot tub, But even when that tired, I don't think it's usual to do completely random acts. As you say, it was night, so why would you ever do that, even if you were just so tired you were on autopilot? That wouldn't be an act you would take on autopilot, at least not in my head. Personally, I like the theory that this was a restless spirit, only in the sense that he's lonely and tremendously bored. In that context, he'd just be messing with people's heads for fun. And let's all be perfectly frank, if we turned into generally undetectable spirits, we'd have some fun with that invisibility, wouldn't we? I know I would. I'd just do small pranks, saran wrap on the toilet, changing out whipped cream for mayo. Okay, maybe I am a little evil. Case file number 176, written by Snug666. Dishes, dishes, dishes. Now they're all clean. But that's not possible. This happened a few days ago. I decided to wait to post about it until he got home, for my safety, and to make sure I had a chance to talk to him first. I am an only child and I live at home with my parents. My mom is currently in a different state for work and has been for 10 weeks. On Friday at around 5 a.m., my dad left to go to his friend's house in New Hampshire to golf, and he got back Sunday afternoon. My dad and I share chores around the house while my mom is gone. And I am extremely weird with touching wet food or just old food in general. So my dad always rinses the dishes and then runs the dishwasher, and all I have to do is put them away. Our dishwasher automatically opens when it's finished cleaning. That's how I know when they're ready to be put away. He left for New Hampshire Friday morning before I woke up. I was upstairs doing homework and watching Netflix basically all morning until I went down to eat lunch before work. I made myself one of those microwave mac and cheese cup things and went into the silverware drawer to get a fork and noticed there was barely any in there. We have big forks and little forks, and I prefer the big ones, but there was only the little ones in there. I looked in the dishwasher, which was closed, meaning it was empty, but I checked just in case it was closed by accident, and there was nothing in there. I remember being super confused because the sink was empty and so was the dishwasher. So I had no clue where all the dishes and silverware were. I decided to just ask my dad later when he called to check in on me, as he always does when he's away, and just grabbed one of those forks from the drawers and ate my mac and cheese. After I got home from work, I made myself some pasta for dinner. Don't blame me for only eating pasta all day, I'm lazy, okay? When I finished, I walked over to the drawer and got annoyed when I remembered there was only little forks in there. I turned around to grab my phone to call my dad and ask him where everything was, since he hadn't called me yet, and when I did, the dishwasher caught my eye. It was open. I looked inside and it was full of clean dishes. They were all big forks, all the dishes I had used recently, everything. I was freaking terrified. I don't know why it scared me so bad, but it did. I grabbed my pasta, my phone, and a fork as fast as I could out of the dishwasher and bolted up the stairs to my room. I immediately called my dad and told him what happened and asked when he did the dishes last. He said he did them that morning before he left for New Hampshire. I asked if he came home at all. He said no. I'm literally 100% positive that the dishwasher was empty when I made the mac and cheese earlier that day. I wasn't half asleep. I wasn't under the influence of anything. I wasn't imagining it. Nothing. As I said before, I am an only child. My mom is on the other side of the country, and my dad was 3 hours away by the time I even woke up that day. No one has keys to my house but us. Then I was trying to think of anything I could to explain it. I was like, did someone break in, do my dishes, take nothing, then leave? Do I have a second dishwasher I never noticed till now, and I got them mixed up? Did I fall asleep and sleepwalk and do my dishes that way? The part that scares me the most is the fact that the dishes weren't in the sink either the first time. They literally just were nowhere. Where were they? Case notes, file number 176. If I'm understanding correctly, this is a case of disappearing object phenomena, but with quite a few objects indeed vanishing. Your dad said he did the dishes that same morning before he left, so they were all in the dishwasher. Or rather, they were indexed to be in the dishwasher on the universe server. Then you woke up, made mac and cheese, and checked out the dishwasher for a big fork. But no dishes were there, or in the sink at all, as you said. Only they were there. They were supposed to be. They just didn't load in. Maybe the universe's code uses a predictive algorithm, like in video games, to load assets it thinks it'll need and not render the rest. You were supposed to see the dishwasher closed and think it was empty, but you checked too quickly for the universe's server to load those assets in from a spontaneous action. Then later on, it did load them in, and voila, clean dishes. Courtesy of your dad and a slow computer server. The freaky thing is just how much sense this makes, at least in my head. Case file number 177, written by Impossible Living 96. An abandoned hospital with a lesson strongly learned. I was a dumb as hell kid. I did a lot of ridiculous crap. But this encounter, just let me tell you, I learned my lesson about breaking into places that really should be left alone. It was the middle of the summer. Me and my friends sat on a wooden fence smoking cigarettes, thinking about what the hell to do with ourselves. One of my friends suggested an abandoned hospital up the road from my house. We were unsure at first, as we'd heard a lot of stories from people who had previously went years ago, before it was boarded up again. After much discussion, we went. It was still boarded up with wood nailed to the windows. The doors were sealed shut, so there was no way we could have gotten in that way. We were going to walk away and just go home, but luckily, I remembered I had something at home that I could get the boards off with. As we climbed through the window, we finally got in. It was like going through a time warp. The place wasn't heavily damaged, and the interior looked like it was from the 60s or 70s. There were stale, bloody towels there too. It was eerie as hell. Anyways, we fooled around and freaked each other out for a few hours until we had to go. Before we left, we messed around with a fire extinguisher that had been left there. While everyone was in the center of the hospital, I stepped out for a breather in the hallway, with the same window we entered through. I was at the bottom of the hallway, and I saw a pale, slender figure in a blue hospital gown climb out of the window while looking at me. He looked tired and sick. I froze and screamed. I left as soon as it appeared. I will never forget how freaky it was. Case notes, file number 177. So that this figure was climbing out, not in, is a very interesting detail. Generally, spirits appear to be bound to areas that strongly impacted their lives. But the question is this a hard-coded rule, or more of a guideline or emotional tether? Not an actual rule of the universe, it's just something that they want to do generally. I'd guess that as spirits get older, process their fate and history more, they'd begin to wander further and further from their originating area. Makes me wonder if others in the town you lived in saw this figure too. I'd bet they have, and not just in that hospital. If you enjoyed these stories, give the video a like.